The glass doors of the Ashford Capital conference room reflected my brother's smirk as security moved toward me. "There's been a misunderstanding," Derek announced to the 40 investors, family members, and board candidates assembled for our father's retirement gala. "This woman isn't authorized to be here." I stood in the marble lobby of Manhattan's Bryant Tower, 27 floors above Fifth Avenue, wearing the charcoal Armani suit I'd purchased specifically for this moment. My invitation, the embossed card I'd received 3 weeks ago, was still in my bag. I didn't reach for it. "Derek," my father's voice carried across the room. Richard Ashford, founder of Ashford Properties, 63 years old and worth an estimated $340 million, straightened his bow tie. "Handle this quietly." I hadn't seen either of them in 4 years, not since the afternoon my father informed me that my 12% stake in the company, shares my grandfather had left me before his death, would be administratively dissolved to streamline the succession structure. Derek, his chosen heir, had needed those shares to reach the 51% controlling threshold. I'd been 24, freshly graduated from Wharton, naive enough to think the law would protect me. "Sir, I need you to come with me." The security guard's hand hovered near my elbow but didn't touch. Professional courtesy, probably noting the quality of my clothes and the calmness of my expression. "I received an invitation," I said clearly, projecting just enough for nearby guests to pause their conversations. "From Maxwell Chen. He's expecting me." Derek's jaw tightened. "Maxwell Chen is the keynote speaker and our most important potential investor. You don't know Maxwell Chen." "I know him well enough." That was true. What I didn't mention was that Maxwell Chen, founder of Apex Venture Group, former managing partner at Goldman Sachs, and the man currently controlling $4.7 billion in deployable capital, had been my direct supervisor during my 2-year analyst program at Chen & Associates, the program I'd completed under my mother's maiden name, Winters, after legally changing it the week after my family erased my inheritance. "This is embarrassing for everyone," my father said, moving closer. His cologne was the same, Creed Aventus. He'd worn it at every major company event, every board meeting, every moment he wanted to project authority. "Sarah Ashford." He still used my old name, despite the legal documents I'd sent him 18 months ago, despite the registered letters, despite everything. "I'm not here to cause problems. I'm here because I was invited to a business event." "By someone who clearly doesn't know your history with this family." Derek stepped between me and the conference room entrance. At 32, he'd inherited our father's build, broad-shouldered, tall, but none of his business instinct. In 4 years, Ashford Properties had lost 3 major contracts, faced 2 shareholder lawsuits, and seen its market valuation drop from $890 million to $620 million. I'd monitored every quarterly report. "Derek, let me be clear." I met his eyes. "I have every legal right to be here. If you'd like security to physically remove me, that's your choice. But do it knowing that Maxwell Chen will ask where I am." "You're delusional." "Test it." The conference room doors opened. A woman in her 50s, Chen's executive assistant, Diane, whom I'd worked with for 22 months, stepped into the lobby. "Miss Winters?" She smiled professionally. "Mr. Chen is ready for you." The silence in the lobby had weight. Derek's face went through 3 distinct expressions: confusion, recognition of my assumed name, then something harder to categorize. My father simply stared. "There must be a misunderstanding," Derek said to Diane. "We don't have anyone named Winters on the guest list." "Mr. Chen's personal guest list. Miss Winters is here at his specific request. Will you be joining us, or should I inform Mr. Chen you've been delayed?" I walked past my brother without looking at him. The conference room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. 43 people were seated at arranged tables. I counted automatically, an old habit from my analyst days when Chen would randomly quiz me on meeting attendance. At the front of the room, standing beside a presentation screen displaying Ashford Properties logo and a projected Q4 report, was Maxwell Chen. 56 years old, silver hair, Tom Ford navy suit. The man had personally trained 14 analysts during his tenure at Chen and Associates. 9 of us had gone on to start our own firms. 3 had become managing directors at major investment banks. I'd done something different. "Sarah Winters," he said as I approached, not Sarah Ashford. The use of my chosen name was deliberate, loud enough for the front tables to hear. "Everyone, please welcome the founder and CEO of Meridian Equity Partners." I'd prepared for this moment, but the reality still hit differently. 43 faces turned toward me. My father's expression was frozen. Derek had gone pale. "Meridian Equity Partners," Chen continued, advancing his presentation slide, "currently manages $280 million in assets across 17 commercial properties in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens. They've achieved an average annual return of 23% over the past 3 years. Miss Winters founded the firm at age 25 with initial capital of $180,000, a small business loan and her personal savings, and has since acquired a portfolio that includes the Williamsburg Collective, the Chelsea Maritime Building, and as of 6 weeks ago, a 40% stake in the Granville Hotel Group." The Granville Hotel Group. I watched my father process that information. Granville owns 11 boutique hotels across the eastern seaboard, including 2 properties that Ashford Properties had tried and failed to acquire in 2023. "Miss Winters and I have been in discussions for the past 8 months regarding Apex Venture Group's potential investment in her next phase of expansion. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we've reached an agreement. Apex will be investing $180 million for a 25% equity in Meridian, valuing her company at $720 million post-money." The room erupted in polite applause. I kept my expression neutral, professional. Inside, my heart rate had elevated exactly as it always did when a deal closed. Controlled adrenaline, not panic. "I should mention," Chen added, almost as an afterthought, but clearly rehearsed, "that Miss Winters has also submitted a bid to acquire Ashford Properties. Given her track record and our backing, the board will be reviewing her offer very seriously." The applause stopped. My father stood. "Maxwell, I think there's been some confusion." "No confusion, Richard." Chen's voice was pleasant but final. "Your company has been underperforming, 3 consecutive quarters of declining revenue. Your expansion into Philadelphia resulted in a $42 million loss. Your son's management decisions have cost shareholders significant value." Derek pushed back from his table. "This is a retirement celebration, not a hostile takeover announcement. It's a business event," I said, speaking for the first time since entering the room, "at a business venue. And my offer isn't hostile. It's the only viable path forward for a company that's hemorrhaging capital and reputation." I pulled a folder from my bag, physical documents, because I knew this audience. Old money, traditional. They trusted paper more than tablets. "My offer is $620 million, all cash for 100% of Ashford Properties. That's current market valuation, which is generous given your projected losses for Q1 of next year." I set the folder on the table nearest my father. "The alternative is to continue watching your legacy degrade under management that's proven incapable of adapting to current market conditions." "You vindictive—" Derek started. "Vindictive would be letting you run this company into bankruptcy and buying the assets at liquidation prices," I interrupted. "I'm offering you a clean exit at fair value. Your shareholders keep their returns. Your employees keep their jobs. Your family keeps its reputation. I'm the only person in this room offering you that option." My father picked up the folder. His hands weren't quite steady. "The board meeting is scheduled for next Wednesday. My offer expires at 5 p.m. that day. If you accept, I'll maintain the Ashford name on the properties, keep 87% of current staff, and ensure that your retirement is properly honored. If you decline, I have 3 other acquisition targets I'm pursuing, and Ashford Properties will continue its decline without my intervention." "How did you—" My father's voice cracked slightly. "How did you build this?" "The same way you built yours." I met his eyes. I worked. I found investors who believed in competence over nepotism. I identified undervalued properties, negotiated smart purchases, and delivered consistent returns. The difference is that I didn't need to steal anyone's inheritance to do it. That was a legal restructuring. That was theft dressed in corporate language. My tone didn't rise. I'd promised myself I wouldn't shout, wouldn't rage. Anger was for people who'd lost control. You took shares my grandfather left me and transferred them to Derek because you'd already decided I wasn't worth developing as a successor. You chose wrong. Now I'm offering to fix your mistake before it destroys everything you built. Maxwell Chen stepped forward. The documentation is all here. Legal review is complete. The capital is secured. This isn't a negotiation about whether Miss Winters can execute this acquisition. She demonstrably can. This is a decision about whether you exit on favorable terms or unfavorable ones. Derek looked at me with something close to hatred. You really did all this just to destroy us? No, I said. I did this to build something worth having. The fact that it puts me in a position to acquire your failing company is just a bonus. The board meeting took place exactly 1 week later, in the same building, different floor. 7 board members, my father, Derek, and myself seated around a mahogany table. The vote took 14 minutes, 6 in favor of accepting my offer, 1 abstention, 0 against. Derek didn't attend the final signing. My father did, sitting across from me in the law offices of Morrison and Hewitt while our attorneys processed documents. The $620 million wire transfer completed at 3:47 p.m. Ashford Meridian Properties officially became the largest holding in my portfolio. Your grandfather would be proud, my father said quietly as we stood to leave. I gathered my documents. My grandfather left me those shares because he saw something in me that you refused to see. He would be proud that I succeeded despite you, not because of you. Sarah, it's Miss Winters in any professional context. If you'd like to reach out personally, my assistant can provide appropriate contact channels. I made a mistake. I paused at the door. You made many mistakes, underestimating me, choosing Derek, believing that loyalty to family meant protecting the least capable person instead of developing the most capable one. But the specific mistake you're referring to, taking my inheritance, yes, that was your worst one. Can we, he hesitated, can we try to repair this? You have my number. You've had it for 4 years. When you're ready to apologize without qualifications, without justifications, without explaining how you were trying to do what was best, when you're ready to simply acknowledge that you wronged me, we can have that conversation. I left him standing in the law office's lobby. 3 weeks later, Ashford Meridian Properties announced a restructuring plan. Derek was offered a position as regional manager for the Philadelphia division, the same division he'd mismanaged into a $42 million loss. He declined. Last I heard, he'd taken a position at a mid-sized property management firm in Boston, earning approximately 1/10 of what he would have made as CEO. My father sent a letter, 4 pages, handwritten, no justifications, no explanations, just an acknowledgement of what he'd taken from me and what I'd built in spite of him. I replied with 3 sentences. I accept your apology. I don't forgive what you did, but I accept that you recognize it was wrong. If you'd like to have coffee sometime, I'm available Thursdays. We met on a Thursday, in December, neutral location, 1 hour, civil conversation. I didn't need his approval anymore. I didn't need his recognition or validation, but there was something satisfying about sitting across from him as an equal, no, as his superior, and choosing to grant him the courtesy he'd once denied me. Maxwell Chen sent a bottle of Chateau Margaux 2015 to my office with a note for the analyst who paid attention. I opened it the night the final acquisition documents were filed. alone in my office, 43 floors above Manhattan, looking out at the same city that had watched me rebuild myself from nothing. The wine was excellent. The victory was better.